what a morning, huh? A lot going on. So I got 15 minutes. I don't think I'm going to make it, just to let you guys know. So I understand if you have to walk out or whatever. But anyways, I just wanted to start out. I wanted to preface this with, be careful what you ask for, okay? Because God might be like, all right, here you go. One thing that I admitted at the men's breakfast last Saturday is that I love presenting. I love teaching about God. It's one of those things that I absolutely love to do. And it's kind of on a selfish note, because that seems to be the time when I can focus and really study and dig into what God has out there for me. So what I used to do is I used to be driving to work or whatever and praying, and God would highlight something, and I used to write a message. Not that I was scheduled to give a message or to actually talk to anybody, but that was my way of studying what God was doing. And what's so funny is I've been wanting to speak. I haven't really said anything except to maybe like one person. And I found out I was speaking at the men's breakfast when Ron was making the bulletin for the men's breakfast. And I was like, okay, I got this covered. It's okay. I couldn't find my notebook, the one that has all these messages. I was thinking that I could use one of the ones that I wrote, like, the past year or maybe 2 years ago, and I couldn't find it. But God was telling me, hey, fellowship. Fellowship's what I want you to talk about. That's what I got for you. And so, all right, cool. I got a week to do this. Usually I know a month ahead of time, so I have a month to prepare. So I had a week. So every night after work, I'd go in my office, sit down, and stare at a blank screen. My screen had fellowship written on the top of my Microsoft Word document. Just said fellowship. That was it. So Monday, okay, not that big a deal. I can do this. Tuesday, still just fellowship. It's all right. I got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be okay. Wednesday, fellowship. So this went on until Friday. And I was freaking out, okay? I actually worked late on Friday, too. So I get home, and I'm like, oh, my God, help me out. What am I supposed to do, God? And so I decided I was going to buckle down. I'm going to put on my Amazon Music, and I'm going to write this message. I'm going to get this down. I'm going to get this on paper. And God, I hope it's what you want, because here it comes. Well, I was struggling for a little bit until all of a sudden, those of you older Christians will know, Third Day started playing. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that my Amazon Music is all Christian music, okay? I would say 90% of it is secular music, and maybe 10% of it is Christian music. I got a little bit Lauren Daigle, Newsboys, stuff like that. And it'll pop in every once in a while because I put it on random. Well, all of a sudden, Third Day comes on. And it's a song that Brian and I, we used to live together, and we would play this album, and I know you probably can't picture this, but Brian and I would be singing at the top of our lungs. It was awesome. It's an awesome memory to have with my brother Brian. So when I hear this song, I'm like, I didn't even know I downloaded Third Day onto my Amazon Music. It was an album that I haven't listened to in years and years and years and years. So next thing you know, I'm like, I got the whole album, I put it in, and bam, this is what we got. And at the men's breakfast, it was pretty cool because it seemed well received, and we had a lot of discussion, and it was really cool. So I like to go over the process with you guys. Be careful what you ask for, because he's going to give it to you. And I wanted to be up here in front of you guys because I love looking out and seeing my brothers and sisters. Like, there's no better seat in the house than right here. You guys are beautiful. You're amazing. So it's a great thing to be, even Mike, He wouldn't be my first choice to look at, but, Anyways, so anyways, I like to go through the process. And I know you guys were expecting Steve. Sorry to disappoint, But what we're going to go over is, where do we get these ideas of what a man or a woman is supposed to be? Now, I'm not getting political here. I'm speaking literally, okay? Where do we get these ideas? We had a discussion at the men's breakfast, and I found out that I'm not as unique as I thought I was. I grew up without a mom, without a dad. I would see my mom like once or twice a year, and unfortunately, most of those times are when I was visiting her in prison, okay? So the visitation with your mom in prison is not exactly the same as going to her house or hanging out with her in a different way. So that's what I grew up with. I didn't have a dad. You know, I had my grandma and my grandpa there, and you'd think, oh, that's cool. You probably got spoiled. No, it was the exact opposite. My grandparents were depression babies, so my clothes were bought at garage sales and yard sales and stuff like that, you know? So growing up, I didn't know what a man really was supposed to be. Or at least I didn't think I did at that point. But I didn't know what a man is supposed to be. So where do you think I got my influences? I got my influences from TV, from the newspaper, from movies. Quotes were really great. You know, I love quotes from people. I'm going to read some of these quotes. But this formulated what my idea of being a man was, you know? So my goal in life, and I got to preface this with, I was always the smallest kid too. I was 5 foot, I weighed 100 pounds when I started high school, okay? So I wanted to be the biggest, baddest guy in the house, right? That's who I wanted to be. I was tired of being the small one. I had big friends, like I played football, so all the Samoans were my buddies, right? So they wanted to pick on somebody, they're not going to pick on the big Samoan, they're going to pick on me, right? So I wanted to be this tough guy. I thought that's what being a man was. When you see the movies, it's all about the hero going in, you know, like I think of, God, what's that movie with Steven Seagal where he's on a ship? Or Die Hard, you know, where the bad guys come in and it's all up to him. You know, it's all up to Bruce Willis to crawl through air duct, which, by the way, is impossible. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. I wouldn't even fit in an air duct, but the thing is this is what my view of being a man was. And then when I was just turned 18, my mom was an addict. I moved in with my mom when she was 16. And then when I was 17, I was working 3 jobs to pay the rent, to pay the bills, to support my mom, you know? And I even gave up a scholarship to go to college because my mom needed me. And that's what a man does, right? So anyways, after I was 18, I had enough of that situation. I needed out. So my then ex-girlfriend, she joined the Navy, and she came back from boot camp, and we were still really good friends. The only reason we broke up is because she joined the Navy. But she was talking about how the military might be a great way for me to go. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, that's manly. I could do that. So I called up an Army recruiter and said, hey, now I know nothing about the military at this point, okay? I didn't know how embarrassing it would have been to tell my friends I was in the Army, okay? But the thing is I made this appointment to go see the Army recruiter. And I showed up early. That's what men do. We show up early, right? We show up prepared. That's how we do things. And so I got there, and he basically scolded me for being early. Your appointment's not for another half hour. I'm not ready for you. And he was this big, tall guy. He had coffee stains on his uniform. He didn't really represent the Army very well because I looked at him, and I'm like, I don't want to be like you. So, being the smart guy I was, I'm like, hey, let's check this out. I have all the military offices there. I walked into the Air Force, and they literally had their feet up on their desk, reading the newspaper, didn't even look at me when I walked in, said, we're not taking anybody for 6 months. Come back in 6 months. Then I walked into where the Navy was, and they were wearing their little white uniforms, and I'm like, nope, I can't do that, right? Seriously, this is the way I thought of things. So then I turn around, and I'm going to go to this last office on the left, and all of a sudden the back door opens. You know, it's an east-facing door, which is important in this story because the sun was just coming up. It was in the morning, and this guy walks in with, dress blues with a sword, okay? I want to tell you, the main thing was the sword, okay? I saw this guy walk in, I'm like, they still make swords? It was the greatest thing ever. And at the time I didn't know, but he was a staff sergeant, and he had his blood stripe right down the middle. You know, the NCOs have that blood stripe. It's popping. It looks awesome. Even to this day, there is no better uniform than the dress blues. Right? Come on, my Marines, back me up on this. All right. So this guy comes in, I see the sword, I see the uniform. I walked right up to this guy. I have no idea. He could have been Coast Guard, he could have been National Guard, he could have been a Marine, because those are the 3 I didn't talk to yet. And I walked up and I said, I want to be like you. And he looks at me and goes, well, son, step in my office, we'll make you a Marine. Like, oh, yeah. And I was like, do I get a sword? And he was like, you bet. So 30-something years later, I'm still waiting for my sword. Okay? But the thing is that's what I pictured. Oh, my gosh, that guy looks tough. Oh, my God. That's what I want to be. Now, here's the thing. I didn't realize it, but God was taking care of me back then. He saved me the embarrassment of joining any other branch. Got my back? All right. No, but here's the thing. There's things that I learned in the Marine Corps I still use today. Like integrity. Like I may have been a low-life scum when I got out of the Marine Corps, but I always had integrity because I learned that in the Marine Corps. The sense of brotherhood. I know what that is. Semper Fi. You guys hear us say Semper Fi to each other all the time. Do you know what that means?
Always faithful.
To who?
To your brother.
God, country, and Corps. God, country, and Corps, right? And so when you see Marines saying that to each other, that's a brotherhood, sisterhood too. So anyways, that was my journey into starting to be a man. And I still was stuck on that fact that I had to be tough. You know, and God, I didn't know at the time, but I'm thinking I'm in the toughest branch of the military. I'm headed the direction that I need to be. 19 years old, I became a father. Okay? So I'm a young Marine. I have a baby, and now I have to learn what being a father is. Well, I equated that to my military service. There's a rank structure, right? As long as I'm being obeyed when I give an order, things are good. That's what I thought being a father was. I give orders, you follow them. And then I had a daughter and found out I give orders, they don't care. But that's how I approached fatherhood. And some of these things come from, like I said, the movies, TV, and I even have some of these inspirational quotes. Women, I added some inspirational quotes just for you too, okay? And I'm going to give those first. Now, I will say this. I struggled to find some of the inspirational quotes I wanted for men, you know? But oh my gosh, inspirational quotes for women, there's thousands. Half of them are dogging men, we're worthless, and the other half are like, you go girl, right? You know, so I had to work really hard and weed through them to kind of get the direction I was headed. Here's one, it says, you alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anybody. That's Maya Angelou. The other one says, if you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. That's Katharine Hepburn. Next one. After all, Ginger Rogers did everything Fred Astaire did. She just did it backwards and in high heels. For those of you guys that are too young to know, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers were super famous back in, the 40s and 50s, and they danced. And I grew up with my grandparents, so when I see Ginger Rogers, I knew exactly who that was because my grandparents loved those movies. And the dancing they did was amazing. And when I read this, I was like, oh my God, that's true. She had to follow his lead, and she was wearing all these high heels and spinning around, so she did everything backwards and in high heels. Okay? Women. Now, men, the way of a superior man is threefold. 1, virtuous. He is free from anxieties. 2, wise. He is free from perplexities. 3, he's bold. He is free from fear. That's Confucius. The next one is a man must stand erect, not be kept erect by others. Marcus Aurelius. Oh, yeah. He had a sword. Anyways. It is not the situation that makes the man, but the man who makes the situation. Frederick William Robertson. Next one is adversity toughens manhood, and the characteristic of the good or the great man is not that he has been exempt from the evils of life, but that he has surmounted them. That's Patrick Henry. Nice. Right? Patrick Henry is super famous for saying what? Give me liberty or give me death. There's only two things that I want, liberty or death. That's a man, right? So we get these ideas of what we're supposed to be from the influences that we have around us. When we discussed it with the men, there was friends that they hung out, older friends. There was people in the neighborhood. There was your fathers. There was all these influences to come up with this idea of who we're supposed to be. So what does the Bible have to say about this? Right? I mean, we're looking through books for quotes. Let's see what the Bible has to say. If any of you are following me, I'm going to read from Ecclesiastes 4:8, and we'll go through it, okay? Perfect. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Now let's break that down a little bit, okay? So there's a man all alone. He neither had son nor brother. This applies to you women too. A woman all alone without sister or mother, right? But this is a man that's alone and he's without family or friends, okay? There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. Oh, wait a second. Wealth? I don't know. I've never been blessed with wealth, but I can imagine it'd be kind of fulfilling, right? Isn't that what we work for, is to try to have money and to be wealthy, to buy all the things that we want? Right? No. Yeah. And the man thinks working hard and gaining wealth will make him complete. We have a tendency to think that that's the end-all, be-all. You know, like we were talking about it, about 2 years ago, I wanted a PS5. Really bad. And I brought this up, and it actually hit home with a lot of the men. I found out I got a lot of gamer geeks like me. And yeah, Jesse, I'm talking about you. There's gamer geeks out there like me and Simon. Yeah, CJ, nah. But the thing is I want this PS5. If I get this PS5, I am going to be so happy. It's a gaming system, okay? Video games. So I finally get my PS5. God of War edition. Oh, yeah. He had a sword, too. But anyways, I get that thing, and it was cool. It was, came with a stand, came with some controllers. I wanted better controllers. It didn't have enough memory, so I had to get a 3 terabyte memory card to install in it. And then I had to start getting the games. But the thing is it's like wealth. You have wealth, and you accrue things, but there's always more things. There's the bigger and better, thing that you want to get. It's like, oh my gosh, if I have this truck, I'll be happy. And you're driving down the road going, oh man, look at that truck. Right? Wealth never satisfies. Some of the most miserable people I've ever met in my life were up in Malibu, and they had millions of dollars in their bank account, and I could barely afford my breakfast burrito I got with them. And they're so concerned with spending that money that I had to buy their breakfast burrito for them. And they have millions of dollars, but they don't want to lose that money. They're always thinking about gaining more, and that takes over their mind. And this guy, he had no time but to toil and make money. And the world would think he's successful, right? But even he realizes, I'm not successful. He says, for whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? Right? The man examines his life of hard work and success, and without families and friends to share in it, it's all a grave misfortune. It's worthless. So, what do? We got to look at the next verse. The very next verse in the Bible says, 2 are better than 1. Yes. Because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Let's break that one down. 2 are better than 1. As we looked at in verse 8, the loner regrets his life even though he had wealth because he didn't have family or friends. You need somebody in your life. We were not created to be alone. God created woman for man, right? And man for woman. And friends. We need each other. We're not meant to be alone. Because they have a good return for their work. In a good partnership, 2 can accomplish more than each one individually. The sum is greater than the parts. 2 weeks ago, I got a text from Ron. And he asked me if I was at the church, because on Friday nights we have a Bible study. We meet in the upper room. Y'all are invited. But anyways, he texts me and says, hey, are you around? I need some help. Well, those signs that are out front there, in the glass, you see that? Ron and I put those up. Oh, yeah. Now, the thing is he didn't want to bother me. You know, he knew I was getting ready for the Bible study, but he was like, man, you know, I need to get this done. I don't know if I can do it by myself. And I can tell you right now, there's no way that Ron would have been able to do it by himself. He needed help. And what was great is we went in there and like he was going to take one side, I was going to take another, we'll knock it out, and found out that you have to hold it up while someone else staples it. You couldn't do it alone. Dude, we had so much fun putting up those stupid posters, making fun of Steve because he put in 1 million different staples, and we did it with half the staples. We saved the church money. But the thing is we had a great time doing it, and we got it done so quick. If we were trying to do it by ourselves, we would have been frustrated. The things coming out of my mouth probably wouldn't have been good, and I probably wouldn't tell you what I said here in church, right? It would have been frustrating. But man, it turned into a story that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. You know, me and Ron putting up signs, and then Mark walking up as we're in the window out there so he could see us, displaying our Vogue moment. But anyways, so 2 people can accomplish things that 1 person can't. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. This one hit home for me. I grew up in a neighborhood where there was brothers, you know, and we'd play football in the streets, tackle football in the streets. I think about it now, and it's kind of a stupid place to play football, but we did, right in the street. And I remember I nailed Mark Coleman. I tackled him so hard, that kid was crying, couldn't get up, and I watched his older brother run out and pit Mike. He didn't play with us because he was like 5, 6 years older than us. He probably would have killed us. But he comes over and picks up his younger brother, and he gets him up there, dusts him off. He's all, now go get him. I didn't have that. And I'd be laying in the middle of the street like, what happened? And I'd have to pick myself up. And it sucks realizing that, hey, I got to pick myself up. But when you got a brother there who grabs your hand and pulls you up and shakes you off and gives you a word of encouragement, that's what we need. That's what we need. Also, if 2 lie down together, they'll keep warm. Body warmth, you know, we share heat. We share warmth in a practical sense, right? So like when we're together and we're in good times, we share that good times with each other. We lift each other up that way. Oh, how was your week? Oh man, my week was awesome. I love it when somebody tells me about their great week because it makes my crappy week sound so like meaningless, you know? All of a sudden I'm sharing in my brother's joy or my sister's joy with the week that they had. That picked me up. Now I don't even remember what happened to me this week, right? So anyways, 2 lie down, they keep warm. Though 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. When two work together and live together, they can bring security and safety to each other. We've got so many phrases out there. We've got your back and I got your 6. That's what IGY6. If you guys read Ron's message, he titled it IGY6 because that's what hit home with him. It's a military thing, okay? I got your 6 means I've got your back, literally, but I've got your rear position. The enemy's not going to come behind and surprise you. If the enemy's going to come get you, while I got your back, he's got to do a frontal assault. He's got to come at you in a direction where you can see him coming because I've got your back. That's what that means. So when you see the tattoo, IGY6, which I think might be my next tattoo. I've been thinking about it for a while, but this kind of confirms it. But when you see that, you know what that means. And military now, the tattoos, the IGY6 tattoo right now has a deeper meaning. It's, how many of you ever heard of 22 a day? 22 a day. 22 veterans take their own lives every day. So when you see that IGY6, it's their way of saying, hey, you're not alone. If you need something, I've got your back. And it's a visible representation of that. So when I saw this and I saw got your back, I'm like, there's no way I can avoid talking about that, right? I got your back. So these 4 verses show us the great value of human relationship, right? 2 are better than 1. We understand that, right? Living and working together is a great advantage to living and working alone. So I have 4 things for you guys, okay? 1, productivity, okay? they have a good reward for their labor. If you have a labor to do, if you have something that you're going through, make sure you don't go through it alone. Make sure that you have someone with you because you're going to benefit. They're going to benefit, okay? Help in need. You guys, when you're in need, reach out. Ask. That whole adage of a man has to face everything alone, and if you can't face it alone, you're not a man, that's garbage. That's absolute garbage. Women, same thing. You don't have to go through all this stuff alone. Now, I will say this, the inspirational quotes, so many for the women talking about, hey, a strong woman is a woman that has a woman at her back, has someone behind her pushing her forward. There's so many sayings about women helping women, but men, we got to be on our own, right? Otherwise, you're not a man. That's garbage. Get rid of that. Get rid of that mentality. Be a real man and ask for help. Because I know that I'm there for you. I know that Simon's there for me. I know that Jay's there for me. I know that all these men are here for me, and the women too. Sharon this morning showed her love and support for me this morning, coming up to me saying, Christian, did you get prayed for yet? Right? That's my sister coming alongside of me saying, hey, I got you. I want to make sure that you're taken care of. That's what we need to be. That's who we are, right? As Christians. Comfort in life. They'll keep warm. Man, when you got great brothers and sisters, you're going to find comfort. Comfort in ways that you didn't even know sometimes you need. There's been times where I think I'm good. I think I'm doing all right. And somebody comes up and goes, hey, Christian, you're not your usual self. What's going on? No, nothing. And next thing you know, it turns into an hour and a half conversation with my brother or sister about what's going on. And when we leave that conversation, man, you always feel better. Safety and security. Two can withstand, right? You can take care of each other. So then we get to the last part of that verse. It says, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Well, we've been talking about 2 this whole time, right? So where in the heck did the author come in with 3? All of a sudden there's 3. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I can handle hanging out with Rick. But, dude, do I really have to hang out with Rick and Paul? Hey, that's another thing about men, okay? I'll be honest with you. If Rick comes up to me and doesn't insult me, I feel hurt, okay? If he doesn't say something sarcastic and wise to me, I know something's off. That's when I'm like, Rick, are you okay? And I love it. I look forward to it, Today I got him, so I feel good about myself. But all of a sudden there's 3 cords. It's not 3 men. It's not to represent 2 sisters. It's not to represent 1 guy, 1 sister. It's meant to represent 2 people and what? And God, right? I mean, it's obvious. We've been discussing 2, so why say 3? The 3rd cord is God himself. A relationship intertwined with God is a threefold cord that is not easily broken. If any strand's going to break, it's not going to be the God one, right? Okay? So fellowship with God. Now, I had to do this for Steve. I don't know if he's watching, but he accuses me of always bringing up Jonah and Noah, so I have something from Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless, among the people of his time, and he walked with God. He walked with God, right? He was a righteous, blameless man that walked with God. Take the example given to you and be the same, okay? John 14:23. Jesus replied, if anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. My Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. God will reside with you. He's there with you. Okay? The statement is personal. It says, if anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. It's a personal statement. It's not saying if everyone loves me, anyone. That's you. That's you. It's a personal statement to each and every one of us. So how do we have fellowship with God? You guys, this has to be purposeful, right? We spend time with God. Jesus sets an example by spending time in prayer with his Father, right? We need to follow that example. Spend time with God. Be in fellowship with his people. right now. We're in fellowship, men's breakfast, women's tea, men's retreat, worship night on Sunday night. We have so many opportunities, and that's just within the church, not to mention the personal time we spend with each other, right? Confess your sin. This is a hard one, especially, I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this, but especially for me. It's hard. It's hard for me to say, hey, I've sinned. Even though every single one of you know I'm a sinner, right? I mean, let's just be honest. I'm human. I'm not perfect. Sorry, son, I didn't mean to break your bubble of me, but I'm not perfect. But we know that we need to confess our sin, right? I'm almost done here. Next, love others. We should love others sacrificially, okay? So what that means is I love Rick. I'm making a public proclamation right now, you guys. I love Rick, okay? I don't love Rick because he can do something for me. I don't love Rick because he pays me to love him. I love Rick because I love Rick. I love Rick for who he is. You know, I'm not loving Rick to gain anything. A lot of times we get caught in that trap of like, hey, I can benefit by loving this person. No, you do it because you simply love that person. That's right. Right? Because God loves me, and I'm definitely not going to be able to give God anything, right? I have nothing to give except my love back. The last one is you need to have faith. We should persevere in faith and remain in the truth, okay? In times that are dark, times that are hard, have faith. God will see you through it, you know? Follow all the rules beforehand and you're going to be just fine, no matter the situation. I've had a lot of dark times in my life where I thought, this is it. And dude, at the end of it, I'm like, oh, that was it? That's it? Oh, well then, all right, you know? So anyways, if we could get the worship band up here real quick. Now, one of the things I said was to confess your sin. And in that means get prayer. You know? Seek prayer from one another. You know? Get loved on. And what better place to do it than right here in the house of God, right? So every week we always have these people that come up front, which are gone right now. But we have people that come up front to pray for you. How many times have you sat there and go, man, you know, I need prayer, but I should really get prayer, but get rid of those buts. Just go for it. You know, I mean, sometimes like I've been up here, I've been the guy that's prayed for somebody, and man, in that I have been so blessed. You know, I've made friends from praying for others that I did. In fact, I now have a friend in Menifee, which is cool because that's where I live, and I thought I was friendless out there, but one of the people from here moved to Menifee, and it's great because, hey, I just moved in your neighborhood, and it's someone I prayed for, you know? So don't be a chicken. Ron talks about crossing that chicken line. Cross that line. There's nothing but benefit. It's beneficial for each and every one of you. Amen? All right, there we go.